Greetings, all! Today, we will be examining the rare rock water-type Pokemon Omanyte and its exceptionally rare evolution Omastar, collectively known as the Spiral Pokémon. While they might not be the most agile of aquatic creatures, the members of the Omanyte family are fascinating ancient beasts that truly prove to be a blast from the past if utilized properly. Omanyte possess soft, light blue bodies with 10 tentacles that are used for grasping and interacting with objects in general, as well as small mouth parts and large black eyes. The majority of their body and vital organs are hidden and encased inside a large brown spiral shell that acts as both a form of defense and a way of helping them move through their water column. Their evolved form, Omastar, have a very similar appearance, but the shell that they are encased within is much thicker and has a series of large, sharp spikes along its form that aid as both an additional tool of offense and defense. In addition, their eyes have turned yellowish in color with slit pupils, and their mouthparts have developed into a series of 4 sharp, beak-like teeth that can rip apart smaller lifeforms with ease and make them a dangerous threat to be hunted by without strong armor for protection. The members of the Omanyte family are one of several Pokemon families that are only around today thanks to the marvels of modern science, as these creatures originally went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous. Modern technology, however, is able to extract fragments of DNA from rare Lagerstadt fossil deposits and, with the most cutting-edge genetic splicing research, has proceeded to bring these creatures back to life from helix fossils in a form that is as close to the original form as possible. While flaws in the resurrection process result in these creatures having thicker skin and bodily forms than they likely had originally, converting them into partial rock types, as well as skewing their gender ratio 8-to-1 in favor of males, it nonetheless has proven to be invaluable in allowing for the study of these creatures in the real world without having to rely on other organisms to grant an approximation of their true powers and abilities. In the case of these Pokemon, the members of the Omanyte family are a type of ammonite that once thrived in ancient oceans before varying factors caused them all to die out along with their ammonite brethren. While they are cephalopods and distant relatives to the members of the Remoraid family, these beasts are unique for the large spiral shell that adorns their form and gives them the species title of the Spiral Pokémon. While these shells are noticeably thicker than that possessed by other ammonite, and in turn actually could operate as a form of defense, with these beasts tucking in their forms when they need to guard against attack, that is not their primary purpose. Instead, the true primary purpose of these shells is to act as an artificial ballast. The inside of the shell is divided into a number of different chambers by thin walls called septae, and each of the compartments, minus the living space in the front where most of the vital organs are stored, they are filled with varying amounts of water and air. Using a thin organic tube that runs through the entire interior, these invertebrates can fill the pockets with varying amounts of water and air in order to change their buoyancy and rise up and down in the water column, enabling for vertical movement in the water. This movement can be quite rapid in some cases and can make them difficult to outrun in the right weather, and because of it and their thick shells, these creatures can normally possess swift swim and shell armor as base abilities, while those that have flaws in their shell that make them weaker than normal can instead have access to weak armor as a hidden ability. As far as the stats are concerned, in the case of Omastar, these creatures are not the strongest of fighters as a whole, as they have poor stamina as a result of their slightly cumbersome form and lack much in the way of special resistance, mobility, and physical offense to bear. However, they are able to make good use of their natural anatomy to wield special attacks fairly well, and their hard shell does grant them some surprising physical defenses, so while most of their base stats are below average for a fully evolved rock and water type Pokemon, their base defense and special attack stats are above average for a fully evolved Pokemon of both of their types, and they in fact possess the highest base special attack stat out of all non-legendary and non-Ultra Beast rock type Pokemon, giving them a severe edge against other rock type Pokemon in battle that is complemented further by their water type attributes. Omanyte, despite their shells, are actually fairly decent swimmers and mainly move by twisting their 10 arms around in order to create a small vortex that aids the movement produced by the small siphon that lies under their forms, the siphon itself using jet propulsion to move these creatures about. In this state, these creatures do not have a lot to offer in the way of true offense, but they make up for this by being quite tactical in their operations. The moment that these beasts detect something coming near them, they will retract into their shells and stay there until they are certain that the coast is clear. And while this does often prove to be quite effective, it is not always a lifesaver, as these beasts have been known to have their shells penetrated by Pokemon like Archeops, as evidenced from bite marks found in some helix fossils. As a whole, these creatures live fairly peaceful lives in the deep sea, and are not a serious threat to anyone, as while they can utilize a bite attack, their teeth are quite small because they primarily feed on plankton and dwell near the ocean floor, where not in the typical shallow water environments they are found in today. Sadly, these creatures have not always done that well in modern oceans, as there are many more predators around now that have the power to penetrate their shells or otherwise force them out of them, and they are small enough that Omanyte are a worthwhile meal. So the population numbers have not increased that much since their time of resurrection, making them a rare find that are best obtained through direct resurrection rather than hunting them in the wild. When Omanyte evolve into Omastar, they acquire a series of sharp spikes in their shell that are primarily designed to not only be used to ward away potential predators, but, more importantly, can be fired off by pressurizing water in small tubes that run through the center of the spikes and releasing the pressure to fire off the spikes as projectiles in a spike cannon attack, regrowing them as soon as they are fired to make for a decent weapon to keep others at bay within the wild, even if their low physical strength makes the attack not very damaging. Unlike their placid pre-evolved form, Omastar are vicious predators that will hunt down anything that can get their tentacles on, but because of their slow speed in the water, despite having a stronger siphon than Omanyte, they are primarily ambush predators. However, this does not belittle what they are truly capable of, for if these creatures manage to get their tentacles on something, it is not escaping, as the surface of their tentacles is incredibly abrasive and can stick to just about any texture of flesh or shell. Once a prey item is ensnared, these cephalopods will pull it in and proceed to use their razor-sharp and incredibly sturdy beak-like teeth to tear their prey apart into bite-sized chunks while they are still alive. Their teeth are so strong that these creatures will regularly dine on shelter when they can, crushing their hard shells with their teeth to get at the soft flesh on the inside. Curiously, it is thought by some that these beasts only went extinct because their shells grew too heavy for them to swim properly, and while their shells are noticeably thicker than that of other ammonites or even Omanyte, this seems like a poor and weakly supported excuse, so the real reason behind their extinction is still unclear. Regardless, these ocean predators should be avoided at all costs in the wild, as they can easily prove to be a severe hazard to the life of anything that they can manage to latch onto. Though they certainly might not be that common to see in any environment, the members of the Omanyte family are fascinating creatures that can help to give a window into what ancient life was once like in prehistoric times. You likely might have to go out of your way to find a helix fossil to resurrect them from, but it can definitely be worth it if you're looking for a strong rock type that can give most other rock types a hassle in a fight. Just do yourself a favor and try not to get too close to them when they are in a fully evolved state. They might seem cute and adorable as Omanyte, but forget to feed them on time as Omastar, and you may find out what happens if they choose to bite the hand that feeds them. Namely, that you'll be using your other hand to feed them from now on. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description.
Yeah, no.
With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.